Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us on Joe Bigger Go Home. I am Old Man Boy, joined by the Mark, Kevin Cunningham, a.k.a. Sid Cunningham on Twitter. Kevin, we're big like you today. We're on a huge time frame. 20 minutes in and out, recapping Big Ten championship game. Urban Meyer stepping down, all the bowl games for all the Big Ten teams. Let's do it. No time for pleasantries. Big Ten championship game. Ohio State flexes muscles. That's it.
Yeah. Like you said, so much to talk about, and we'll eventually talk about, like Ohio State, Michigan, and stuff like that from a couple weeks back. But in general, yeah, Ohio State, Northwestern. Ohio State obviously won the game 45-24. Dwayne Haskins did his thing. He is one of the three finalists now for the Heisman Trophy, along with Kyler Murray from Oklahoma and Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama. So Haskins has had so many records, whether it's passing yardage in a game for Ohio State, passing yardage in a game for the Big Ten, passing touchdowns in a season, passing yardage in a season, touchdowns responsible for in a season. I mean, the list is just ridiculous. And
named Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year today.
Yeah, Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, Big Ten Player of the Year. There's just so many different awards and records, and Ohio State records against Michigan. There's just so much stuff. Personally, and call me biased if you'd like, but I think what Haskins has done in regard to rankings in terms of the Big Ten and like completion percentage and passing yardage and passing touchdowns and touchdowns responsible for and throwing over 70% completion percent, there's just so many different single-season Big Ten records, if you want to take anything from it. He has a number of Big Ten records of all time in a single season this season, Dwayne Haskins. So whether it's, 4,000-plus yards, whether it's 48 touchdowns, whether it's 70% completion percent, whatever, he has a ton of those different marks now. And so if you want to base it statistically, if you want to talk about the turmoil that Ohio State has had, if you want to talk about Ohio State's defense and how terrible it is, and how Dwayne Haskins has had to put up 38, 45 points a week in order for them to win, he's done it, outside of one game at Purdue, which inevitably cost them their season when it comes to the college football playoff. But so that was the Big Ten title game. I mean, Ohio State has a ton more talent than Northwestern. That's just what it is. That's what recruiting is. I mean, really, if you want to truly boil it down, like if you're Northwestern and all you get is 3 stars, you better hope that all those 3 stars turn into exactly what you want, and it's a perfect game plan in order to beat a much talented team than Ohio State. And once in a while, you'll pull an upset like Purdue did, and because Ohio State has a bad game and you have a great game, and that's fine. But if you're truly trying to build a perennial winner, then just solely getting the worst classes in the Big Ten year in, year out, I love Pat Fitzgerald as a coach, but you have to hit things perfectly in a given season, and Northwestern's had a ton of success. Like I said, I think he's a fantastic coach. He obviously gets the most out of having the worst recruiting classes in the Big Ten, like, consistently. Like, it's basically them and Rutgers, like, every single year has the worst recruiting classes. And so hats off to, there's my saying again, to Pat Fitzgerald and Northwestern for doing what they do and consistently winning in the Big Ten the way they do. But in order to consistently beat Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State and Alabama and Clemson and Georgia and all these teams, if you really want to win a national title, you just have to hit it so perfectly if that's the way you recruit. And so more often than not, Northwestern will lose to Ohio State. The talent differential was just so obvious in this game. So I was expecting it to be maybe a little closer, but I realistically, I knew Ohio State wanted to flex their muscles, and really they didn't. 45-24 was not enough. It wasn't even enough for them to overtake Georgia, who lost to Alabama. That's
they would have had to win this game, Kevin. They would have had to pitch a shutout and win by like 50 in my mind.
Yeah,
they would have had to pull the old Ohio State over Wisconsin title game again.
Yep.
And as I'm watching the game, and Northwestern is scoring, and to be honest, Kevin, I look at the score, and that's about kind of what I thought was going to happen. Northwestern put up 24 points, and Ohio State's offense is good enough to score 45.
Right.
So Northwestern, to me, Kevin, caught lightning in a bottle during the Big Ten regular season. That's what I think happened.
And honestly, Troy, I think the other teams in that division slipped up. Iowa wasn't as good as they were supposed to be. Wisconsin definitely wasn't as good as they were supposed to be.
Nowhere near where they should have been.
So that was also part of it.
Yeah, and you give credit to what Northwestern did during the regular season, but what's the record right now? 7-6?
8-5.
8-5.
8-5. Yeah.
And you were in the Big Ten championship game at 8-4.
Yep.
That tells me mediocre play in that side of the division. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about this a little bit more because we have some time between now and the bowl weeks, but we also got to get to basketball next week.
Yeah.
We got a lot to talk about. Unfortunately, with our schedules, me being on vacation, you moving, working, we just got to be quick. The news coming out, though, Urban Meyer is stepping away from football again. Do you think this is his last go-around, Kevin? Do you think he's going to come back in 2 years?
2 or 3 years, yeah. I don't think it will be Ohio State. I don't think it'll be Florida. I don't think it'll be Michigan. I don't think it'll be Clemson, one of those where all the stress is on you to win. Basically, it's not enough. If you're Ohio State to go, they're 12-1 right now. They missed the playoff. As an Ohio State fan, I'll say it's disappointing. This was a disappointing season to go 12-1, and though they could end up 13-1, winners of the Rose Bowl. That's disappointing at Ohio State. Like seriously, it is. It's not satisfying to go 13-1 and win the Rose Bowl. It's not. So if you want that stress, that's absolutely part of it. That's why he stepped away at Florida. This is why he's stepping away at Ohio State, partially. Partially also is because what happened in the offseason with Zach Smith, him being suspended. That's part of it. Part of it at Florida for him leaving was all the arrests and all the off-the-field stuff that Florida was going on. That's part of it. But that happens at Alabama. That happens at Georgia. That happens at Penn State. That happens in Michigan. Everywhere huge has its drama. And so if you're forced to make the playoff or it's a disappointment, then go to Ohio State because that's what you're signing up for. Go to the college football playoff or it's a disappointment. That's the season. And Urban Meyer, because of his health, because of what is going on in his head literally, from a cyst standpoint and it affecting him to get headaches every single day, then he's not consistently built for coaching Ohio State right now, year after year after year. Can he do it for 1 year, once every few years? Sure. But realistically, I think he takes a job like Washington. I think he takes a job like Utah in a few years, where it's not unacceptable to go 13-1 and win a Rose Bowl. So I don't think he takes this huge step down, but I don't think he takes a job where it's expected to get to the college football playoff or you're done. Basically, it's a disappointment. So that's my take on it. I think he takes a few years, couple years off, and then he goes to, wherever, where the expectations aren't monstrous, wherever that may be. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I don't know, Kevin. I think maybe this time he's genuine.
Yeah.
What more? I mean, unless he's going to miss the game that much, and I understand your point, go to a little less stressful job. The thing is, I don't know Urban Meyer personally, but just knowing him from watching, reading things, this is a guy who I think puts a lot of undue pressure on himself.
Yeah.
And a lot of great people do that. So even if you take a Washington and finish 10-4, would he think that he did the best job he could do? I look at what he's accomplished. He doesn't really need to prove anything else in the college world. I don't see him going to the NFL. I mean, you talk about stress. I mean, the NFL and then having to deal with those egos.
I want to jump in here too, Troy, very quickly. He's not built for the NFL in terms of the way he coaches, because he's almost like Chip Kelly, except kind of a worse version. I mean, honestly, like what Chip Kelly did at Oregon was unbelievable. Like they just murdered everyone in the Pac-12, and then they would play a huge team up front, and it would just be a mismatch at the line of scrimmage, and so they'd lose in the national title game. Like that's what happened to Chip Kelly at Oregon. At Ohio State, it's the same thing. They're just not as fast. Like that's basically what it is. Urban Meyer wants a running quarterback who can be a dual threat guy. Because he had Dwayne Haskins, throw the ball 40 times a game, throw it for 400 yards a game, be a Heisman Trophy candidate. Ohio State hasn't had that, a Heisman Trophy candidate, since 2006, I think it is. Because they're just not built that way from a quarterback position. You're not going to put up huge
and I don't think things came easy this year for him. And that's why I think I really don't know if we're going to see Urban Meyer again. Yeah. I think he's done enough the second time that I'm going to get air quote health problems have, made him decide he wants to step away, needs to take a break. But you look at it and go, okay, would he even be happy going to a Washington? Because now there's going to be undue stress on himself, like, I'm good enough to coach in the college football playoff. Why is my team not getting there? You're Urban Meyer, you can probably go out and you can recruit. But, in a few years, the game will have changed again. I think he's done. And I think, and not in a bad way. I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like, I think he couldn't coach again. I just think I look at what he's done, the way the game is going to change in the next couple of years, and this is the second time now where you talk about health problems related to high stress levels. And yes, that's where his programs are, but I also think Urban Meyer is that type of person. I think he's wound that way, Kevin. But we can't get into it anymore. I want you to run down the bowl games. I think we got to get out of here in 5 minutes?
Yeah, pretty much. Let me see here. Let me go start from the bottom here. The first bowl game, by the way, for those listening.
The good ones. You're going to start with the good ones.
Yeah, December 15th. As far as I can tell from here, I've got another sheet open, but that doesn't say what the bowl games are. So I am going to go to the first bowl game period is December 15th. The first bowl game featuring a Big Ten team. By the way, there were 9 Big Ten teams that made bowls. That's pretty impressive to me, to have 9 teams make bowl games. And I want to say this too, Troy. There were actually 4 teams that were 500 or better. There was actually a team 6-5 that did not make a bowl game this year. So
there's still too many, youngster. There's still too many.
No, Troy.
I look at this while you're looking for the bowl games. I'll give my 2 cents. 9 teams from the Big Ten? No way. There's not 9 good bowl teams in the conference this year. I'm sorry. They don't have 9 good teams that should be going to bowls. There's too many of them. I look at the conference, and I'm thinking a solid 6 or 7, not 9. I'm sorry. Just there's way too many bowl games. I know all of the arguments for the bowl games, the extended practice, but holy cow, if that's what we're going to do, just let every team in America play in a game so everybody can practice. 9 teams, hey, good, for the Big Ten. We do a Big Ten show. But I don't think 9 teams should have went to bowls in this conference, Kevin. Carry on. I know we're in a time constraint.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I don't disagree with you. Those 4 teams, by the way, that didn't make it, that were at least 500, they're trying to schedule games with each other so that they can play another game and have more practice time. Anyway, moving on. December 26th is the first Big Ten game. It's the Quick Lane Bowl. Minnesota plays Georgia Tech. Like you said, this is, what is it? It's literally 3 weeks away. It's 21 days away. So I'm not going to get into betting lines and stuff like that yet, but I just wanted to read them off. Again, Quick Lane Bowl, Minnesota, Georgia Tech. I'm happy that PJ Fleck got Minnesota to a bowl game. I'll say that. After each one, I'll let you say something if you'd like to.
I can't say anything about that.
Moving on, December 27th, Wisconsin versus Miami. Again, it's not the Orange Bowl, but it's the Pinstripe Bowl at Yankee Stadium. To me, for this, to have a rematch, I don't know if I like it or I don't. I think I don't like it because I think you would rather play someone else. If you're a player, it's cool to be able to get revenge or be able to really shut the door on whatever. But I would just want to play someone different. That's just my take on it. I don't think this is creative.
I don't think they could, Kevin. I think that Pinstripe Bowl is a Bowl Alliance game with the ACC and the Big Ten. Pitt has been in the Pinstripe Bowl, I think, holy cow, for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And Pitt happened to go to the ACC championship game, so now they're going to a better bowl with a crap record. So
right.
I don't know if this was even there could have been any other selection. I think that's the Bowl Alliance game with the ACC and Big Ten.
Yeah.
So carry on.
Yeah, it is. You're 100% right. Like last year, I forgot the Big Ten team, but I remember that Boston College was in the game. So yeah, it is a Big Ten ACC alignment. I know that sometimes though they have like if the 6th ACC team doesn't have like this given record, then we can supplement them with another team, basically. So there are somewhat loopholes in some of these, but you're right, it is absolutely Big Ten ACC. That's why we have this matchup again. Music City Bowl, which is at least a bowl I've heard of, and December 28th, Purdue versus Auburn. I think that'll be interesting, and I'm very happy that. Yeah,
actually, I think that'll be a pretty good game.
Yeah, I'm very happy that Purdue made a bowl game as well, because they were one loss away from not making a bowl game, and if that team with that offense and that coach, and that's something else we have to talk about, is Jeff Brom staying at Purdue instead of going to his alma mater.
Lot to talk about, my friend. A lot to talk about. Yeah. But carry on. I know you got to go off to work.
Yeah. So, happy for Purdue. Michigan versus Florida in the Peach Bowl. It seems like Michigan plays Florida in the Outback Bowl every other year, but instead this year Michigan is playing Florida in the Peach Bowl, December 29th. Again, there's nothing you can do when it's like the top 3 placing teams in the ACC or SEC and Big Ten. There's nothing you can do to avoid that. But it seems like 2 out of 3 years Michigan plays Florida. Maybe that's just me.
No, again, you're seeing a lot of, I don't want to call them rivalries, but you're seeing a lot of repetitive teams playing in bowl games after the season, partly because of Bowl Alliance. And you could get me going again, and I don't want to because I know you got to go. And the stuff we'll talk about late in another show, a couple weeks down the road. We got plenty of time before a lot of these bowls start.
Yes. December 31st, the Red Box Bowl. Michigan State plays Oregon. That'll be interesting. And what's another topic we have to discuss is players basically staying out of these bowl games because they're NFL draft stock. And Oregon's quarterback, Justin Herbert, is the number 1 basically prospect in terms of being a quarterback. He's not anticipated to go number 1, but he's the number 1 rated quarterback, and he is playing in this bowl game, which is actually different than a lot of the guys assumed to be picked in like the top 15, top 20. A lot of those guys have already said, yep, I'm done. Not playing in the bowl game. Oregon's Justin Herbert is playing in this game. Michigan State trying to score with Oregon in this one will be interesting. But
just a quick note. I think he's playing, Kevin, because I think he's doing this now to try and raise his stock. I really do. I mean, he's trying to move up in the draft, and if he has a really good bowl game, is it going to hurt if he has a mediocre game? I don't think so. A lot of people will see the film, but if you can have a lasting impression, you're going to bet on yourself and go out and play at a high level and put up good numbers against a good Michigan State defense, he could very well raise his draft stock if he goes out and has a killer bowl game. So, we'll talk about players not playing, blah, blah, blah. I think he's doing it because he wants to try to raise his draft stock, and he wants to move up, and nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I hear you. We'll get to the Big Ten players that have already announced they're not going to participate in their bowl games at a later time. The Holiday Bowl, also on December 31st, another one that I've heard of. Northwestern versus Utah will be a good game. Nothing else for me to say on it right now.
No, I got nothing.
January 1st.
Another added bowl game, Holiday Bowl.
Yeah.
Might as
January
well just call it Thanksgiving Bowl, Christmas Bowl, Easter Bowl, 4th of July Bowl. Oh, we got the Independence Bowl. I mean, it's crazy. Carry on.
January 1st, there are 3 different Big Ten teams in action here, and I might be able to go to this one, actually. We'll see. It's in Tampa, so from where I'm moving, it's about an hour away. On January 1st, Iowa plays Mississippi State. There's nothing crazy for me to talk about. Kirk Ferentz is making, a January bowl game with Iowa, so good for him and good for Iowa, and they will keep being in love with each other until Kirk Ferentz says he's done, basically.
Yep, move on.
Penn State versus Kentucky in the Citrus Bowl, also on January 1st. It's an interesting matchup because it's Kentucky. You don't see Kentucky football playing on January 1st very often, let alone in any of
not very often. Hey, congrats to Kentucky. They had a great year. I bet you Penn State fans are a little upset about this one.
Yeah. Fair enough. And then finally, January 1st, the Rose Bowl. Starts at 5 p.m., Ohio State versus Washington. Again, we'll get into these matchups more when the time makes more sense.
This should be a good game, though, Kevin. I know you're probably disappointed they're not in the football playoff, but the Rose Bowl, to me, is pretty sacred. That's one of the granddaddy bowl games. I love the Rose Bowl. And you look at Washington, Ohio State, I think it's going to be a good one. I can't wait for the Rose Bowl. I know Ohio State fans, you mentioned it, disappointed. I still can't wait for the Rose Bowl. That's all I got. I know you got to run, youngster, so I'll let you wrap it up and end the show.
Yes. So the one thing, if you never listen to our show again, by the way, follow us on Twitter at youngsteroldman, all one word, at youngsteroldman. But if you never listen to our show again, just please, if the Big Ten goes like 9-0 or goes 0-9, like don't boast about how the Big Ten went perfect in bowl games or how the Big Ten is down because they went 2-7. And the SEC went 6-3. Like it does not matter if your team wins its bowl game. It is not something to brag about. It really isn't. Like it's great that Oregon's star quarterback is playing against Michigan State, but for a lot of these teams, like there are guys just not playing. Ohio State, number one pick in the draft, arguably not playing the last 10 weeks of the season, not playing in the bowl game because he wants to ensure his draft stock and be healthy, basically, realistically. So please, just last year, there were so many Big Ten people saying, like, how great the Big Ten was and how great the Big Ten did in bowl games. And I'm just like, you do understand that there are star players missing from these games, and younger players get playing time when they otherwise wouldn't in these games. And seniors that didn't get playing time during the season get playing time in bowl games because it's their last game. Like, this is like just a glorified scrimmage. That's what a bowl game is. So that's my harsh reality take on bowl games, and obviously you can disagree with that, Troy or anyone else who's listening. But I just laugh whenever I see, like, oh, the Big Ten had a great bowl season. It's like, really? Because they beat some team that wasn't going 100% trying to win the game? I don't know. I'd never understand it. Anyway, next week, like you said, Troy, we may talk a little football, but overarchingly, we
mostly
really want to get
basketball.
into basketball season. Yeah, it's basketball season from this point until the bowl games actually take place, and then we'll obviously talk about them. But finally, we will start talking about Big Ten basketball next week. Hope you enjoyed the show as well. I'll do my best Troy impersonation here. Hope you enjoyed the show. We will be back with you next week with a special edition of Big Ten basketball, actually, for the first time. So, our third Big Ten basketball season now, Troy. So, very excited to finally get into it. See you all next week.